Oh boy, do we have news for you. It's already been a very news-heavy week, and much of today's show is going to be a clip show, because Congress decided that this week they were going to hold a string of hearings with some of the worst people in America. But before we catch up on all that, we need to catch up on what should be a massive, earth-shattering, timeline-altering news for the few remaining people out there who still trusted a single word out of Elon Musk's mouth.
Yeah.
It is literally a meme at this point. Elon Musk says, I'll put a man on Mars in 10 years. And he said it 14 years ago, and we're still nowhere close to that happening. And back in 2011, it was a lot easier for the average person to be credulous about real-life Tony Stark's bold claims about humanity's spacefaring future. But at this point, anyone who still believed that Mars colonization was happening anytime soon, and that Elon Musk was going to be the one to do it, they basically had their head in the sand. And it must be pretty hard for those people to have this obvious fact finally confirmed by Elon himself.
The idea that you would believe anything that he predicts about space is very rich when you consider most of the things that he talks about doing here on Earth have failed to materialize.
Yeah.
How many years? And to this day, it's still not technically full self-driving outside of some very controlled scenarios.
Well, that's because the government will let him do it.
Next year, full self-driving. Next year. And how long was that? A decade?
That was a long time ago.
And think about when, like Optimus, how aggressive that was. He missed the mark on Cybertruck. It's just everything. Everything.
La 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 la. We're going to Mars any day now.
Well, on Sunday, right as the Super Bowl was starting.
Amazing timing.
Yeah. What's the biggest distraction possible?
Let me just dump out this complete trajectory change of my company at a time when no one is checking.
So yes, right as the Super Bowl was starting, Elon announced on X that actually Mars ain't happening. But can I interest you in the moon? We got a good deal on the moon. For those unaware, SpaceX has already shifted focus to building a self-growing city on the moon, as we can potentially achieve that in less than 10 years, whereas Mars would take 20 plus years. The mission of SpaceX remains the same: extend consciousness and life as we know it to the stars. It is only possible to travel to Mars when the planets align every 26 months, 6-month trip time, whereas we can launch to the moon every 10 days, 2-day trip time. This means we can iterate much faster to complete a moon city than a Mars city. That said, SpaceX will also strive to build a Mars city and begin doing so in about 5 to 7 years. But the overriding priority is securing the future of civilization, and the moon is faster. Well, yeah, you dumbass. That's what everyone's been telling you for over 10 years.
Yeah.
It took you that long it took him that long to temper his own expectations about what is possible.
Yeah, and temper them to something that is still
not exactly realistic on his time frame.
Questionably possible at best.
Like Artemis is happening sort of now. I mean, it's been delayed, but it will launch soon.
But all that is a big fucking rocket.
Yeah.
He's been making big fucking rockets for a long time.
Yeah.
He hasn't settled or even come close. He hasn't dropped a fucking rover.
Well, it's going to be a lot easier when we if we forget something, we just turn right back around. Mars, the U-turn's so big.
So far away.
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah. My forecast for bringing civilization to Mars turns out to be wildly off the mark. Similar to the countless other forecasts that I've made over the years about autonomous cars, robots, cryptocurrency, pandemics, tunnels, caves, social media platforms, restaurants, etc. But don't worry, we're totally going to have a moon city within the next decade. Maybe within even the next 5 years.
Oh, yeah, now's the time to believe him. Because even in his own... what he's saying now, his timeline has doubled from what he guessed 10 years ago. He's like, well, now it's going to take 20 plus years. So...
But people are still acting like, he's just adjusted the time. No, these numbers were never fucking real.
No, they never
And these numbers aren't real either.
No. They're complete fabrication.
Yeah.
Just pulled it out of thin air.
He did. I mean, come on. It's been a recurring thing whenever he does anything especially stupid or evil that his defenders will say, well, at least he's going to colonize Mars. I don't see anyone else doing that. Mm-hmm. But now they don't even have that.
Well, he's making a robot that's going to bring me a Diet Pepsi.
Yeah. I mean, they do at least have the moon, though, I guess. And what's kind of maddening is that the media will, still, in the same breath, acknowledge that Elon Musk's Mars promises were just total bullshit.
Yeah.
While reporting on his moon promises as if they're credible.
Yeah, it is.
What are you doing?
Extremely frustrating seeing things reported like this. For example, here's the New York Times headline and subheadline for this news. Elon Musk wants to build an AI satellite factory on the moon. In a meeting with employees at his company XAI, Mr. Musk revealed a vision for a facility that includes a giant catapult to launch his satellites into space.
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
We're going to do a trebuchet. I just now found the trebuchet subreddit.
Have you guys seen it? Have you seen the trebuchet channel?
I mean, technically true, he did say that shit, but maybe at this point it's irresponsible to just parrot whatever bullshit this guy says. Although, it's in their best interest to do that because a lot of the stock market is simply floating on top of a bunch of
Well, SpaceX hasn't even IPO'd yet.
Yeah.
And when it does, oh, buddy,
watch out.
you're going to want to get in on the ground floor of this stomp.
You're going to be going to two moons. The physical moon and the figurative one where you get all the money.
Moon, that's right.
Now, fortunately, while New York Times editors write the headlines, the article itself is written by Ryan Mack and Kay Conger, who co-wrote a whole book about how much Elon Musk sucks.
It's really good. Yeah,
one of the
very good
best
book.
books of last year. And probably would phrase that headline, they'd do it a little bit differently if they'd written it themselves. So here's some of that.
Elon Musk told employees at XAI, his artificial intelligence company, on Tuesday evening that the company needed a factory on the moon to build AI satellites and a massive catapult to launch them into space. Inspired by the billionaire's love of science fiction, the space catapult would be called a mass driver and would be part of an imagined lunar facility that manufactured satellites to provide the computing power for the company's AI. You have to go to the moon, Mr. Musk said during an all-hands meeting, which was heard by the New York Times. The move would help XAI harness more power than other companies to build its AI, he said. It's difficult to imagine what an intelligence of that scale would think about, but it's going to be incredibly exciting to see it happen, he added. Last week, Mr. Musk said he was merging XAI with his rocket business, SpaceX, to facilitate his plans to create AI data centers in outer space. Now that vision has expanded to include the lunar facility, though he did not say in his hour-long talk, which also featured remarks from other executives, how it could be built.
Lot going on here. Those two arms of Mr. Musk's business empire are merging as SpaceX prepares an initial public offering, which could come as early as June. A representative for XAI did not respond to a request for comment. Mr. Musk's fixation with the moon is a recent one. Since founding SpaceX in 2002, he has said making humanity multiplanetary, first by establishing a colony on Mars, was the company's raison d'etre. But in recent months, he has posted frequently on X, his social media platform, about the company's new focus, the moon. Two former SpaceX executives told The Times, on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly about corporate plans, that the moon had never been a main focus of the company. In his remarks on Tuesday, Mr. Musk described the moon as a stepping stone to Mars. First, he said the company would build a self-sustaining city on the moon, then travel to Mars, and finally explore star systems in search of aliens.
Beep, bop, boop.
This is the kind of, press thing you'd put out in Popular Science in, 1949 about what the year 2000 could look like.
Yeah.
He's just making things up like he always does.
I mean, you're giving him too much credit. He's not making shit up. These are literally all things that have appeared in hard sci-fi for the last 60 fucking years.
Yeah.
It's not anything new. It's just ideas that are theoretically possible, but incredibly difficult or impossible to actually build in real life.
Yeah.
And he's like, no one else is bothered, but I guess we're going to do it. And we're going to do it, I don't know, 4 years. No problem.
Yeah.
But we can't do it without you buying all of our stock and giving us the funds to raise that money.
And, the faster they get up there and start building all that stuff, the faster we're going to know what all these supercomputers are thinking about. Yeah, and that's what everyone's really wondering.
I need to know.
If Grok hasn't impressed you enough already, just wait till it has moon powers.
Yeah, Grok on the moon. Grok on the moon. I mean, it seems pretty obvious that with SpaceX's stock IPO coming up in just a few months, Elon wanted to get ahead of any questions about SpaceX's long-time Mars ambitions being utterly bogus by just moving the goalpost to something seemingly more attainable. But is it actually attainable? I mean, especially within the next decade? I would think no. I mean, everything he's described is just shit that he's seen in science fiction that is theoretically possible in a very general sense, but is hundreds of steps beyond anything that's ever actually been tried.
We did it in a decade before because the entirety of the U.S. government, the might of the U.S. government was behind it
Yeah,
For
also,
a lot of different reasons, but
the entire computing power required
Yeah.
for that mission could like fit on a floppy disk today. There's obviously getting to the moon and landing a craft on there is difficult.
Yeah.
Getting to the moon, landing crafts on there hundreds, thousands of times, building a factory on the moon
of course.
that has, I guess, robots working at it, a factory on the moon
And a Tesla diner.
that launches, like, it's just like, okay, like there's so many, walk yourself through how this would work. It's not just step 2.
Yeah.
This is step 5,000.
And they will, of course, realize that not only Americans, but the rest of the world, they find the moon to be very boring. That's why we stopped going there for 3 decades.
And there's so much we don't
4 decades.
We don't even know about it. Like apparently moon dust, it might be like worse than asbestos. Like basically the moon is covered
I feel like we
in
need to
asbestos.
send Elon Musk up to figure it out. He should definitely be the first one from his own
take
company.
a big old whiff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I guess we're just gonna like invent and perfect an entirely new method for launching things into space. And we're gonna do it in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Like, okay, big if true, would be cool, but it's like with the data centers in space that you promised last week. It's an obvious ploy to inflate SpaceX's value. But this is exponentially more of a long shot. It's a moonshot, in fact. It's all just so far beyond anything that's actually been done that it is flat out dishonest to make claims like this without any evidence that you can actually do it. And it is unethical to report on it without pointing that out.
Yeah. Well, let's see what he can do.
But hey, maybe he can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's succeeded at all those other things. Oh, I'm getting word that he did not. I'm getting word that this man's entire career is just littered with broken promises.
We need to put him and all of his robots and his fucking trucks onto a rocket and then just see if it can make it to the moon.
Yeah, see what happens.
Yeah. Nevertheless, though, people still want to believe that Elon Musk is not a serial liar. And speaking of which, that's a great segue to another topic that Elon has repeatedly lied about. Jeffrey Epstein. We've got a lot of Epstein to cover today, but let's start with one of the many prominent men who associated with the convicted sex offender. U.S. Commerce Secretary Lutnick, who previously claimed he'd met Epstein just one time, in 2005 and gotten such terrible vibes from him that he never met or spoke with him again. In fact, he was very vocal about not wanting to have anything to do with him.
I mark my words, that guy one day,
Bad stuff's
going to come out.
But one of the recent batches of Epstein files released to the public would seem to contradict that claim. It looks like, actually, these guys, they were kind of tight, and they remained so years after Epstein's 2008 conviction for soliciting a minor. Lutnick's name appears more than 250 times in the files.
Uh-oh.
So on Tuesday, in a previously scheduled hearing with the Senate Appropriations Committee, some Democratic senators gave Lutnick the opportunity to clarify some things. And here's how some of that went.
I think you understand the root of concern here. It's the way you described very emphatically your first encounter with him in his apartment, said you were disgusted, would never have any contact with him again. Did you, in fact, make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children, and we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife, all together. We were on family vacation. We were not apart. To suggest there was anything untoward about that in 2012, I don't recall why we did it, but
Mr. Secretary.
I mean, it's just wild to publicly lie about not being friends with Jeffrey Epstein when you know the government that you work for has files proving that you visited his island with your kids years after the guy was found guilty of sex crimes. You know they've got the documents. You know that they're promising to supposedly release those documents. How the fuck did you think this was going to work out? Lutnick.
He was operating as if that was not going to happen, because if he operated in any other way, that would imply some guilt.
Yeah,
so he had to wait it out until it was found.
It is interesting that for a certain class of people, they still don't seem to get it. They don't seem to get that any association with Epstein Especially visiting his fucking island is not something you can hand wave away. It's just like, it's rich people stuff. You wouldn't understand. Even in his answer, he's just like, my nannies, plural.
Yeah.
These people live in a different world.
That is the issue, is that Donald Trump has successfully proven it is obviously less effective when people, without a huge cult of personality.
He's got the magic dust.
But that's the thing, is Donald Trump has successfully proven that you are not guilty of anything until you act like you are guilty of something.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, it's not the excuse that he made, but the actions that Lutnick took without any other arguments are just so unsettling when you consider that he publicly said how gross Epstein was, and by that point had known maybe what had gone on that island, and then was like, you know where I want to take my children?
We're in the neighborhood.
I want to take
the yacht over.
My underage children to Jeffrey Epstein's island is something that rattled around in his brain, and he was like, yeah, it's a great idea. I think I should
sounds like
do
a
that.
good idea. I just need to hang out with this guy that badly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is interesting that he apparently assumed this would never come out. That kind of baffles me. But anyway, there's obviously calls for Lutnick to resign because this looks pretty egregious.
Bad, yeah.
But the Republicans in power will never do that, because if they do, well, then they've got to do something about the president, whose friendship with Epstein was much more extensive over a much longer period of time.
Yes.
And we'll put a pin in that for right now, because it's time for our next congressional hearing of the week. This one featuring ICE Acting Director Todd Lyons and a few other DHS officials at a hearing by the House Homeland Security Committee on Tuesday. And if nothing else, it was nice to see just how fed up some elected Democrats are with ICE's ongoing terror campaign, even if guys like Chuck Schumer seem worryingly unalarmed by what's happening.
No, this just won't do.
Put on the QR code.
Director Lyons, last year you said in Phoenix at the Border Security Expo that you wanted to see a deportation process that was like, quote, Amazon Prime, but with human beings. Mr. Lyons, how many times has Amazon Prime shot a mom 3 times in the face?
None, sir, but you're also...
It's the square root of 0, that's right. How many times has Amazon Prime shot a nurse 10 times in the back?
None.
How many times has Amazon Prime dragged a woman out of her car by her hair and then dragged her down the street?
None.
Do you know what other regimes in the 20th century required similar proof of citizenship?
Yes, sir.
What?
Sir, there was various nefarious regimes that did that.
Is Nazi Germany one?
Yes, but
Is the Soviet Union one?
I honestly...
Sir, I'm asking the questions. Is the Soviet Union one?
Yes, sir, but I totally... This is the wrong type of questioning.
No.
Chairman, my mother, a Guatemalan immigrant and an American, taught me that I have the responsibility to look evil in the eye and to fight it back. Mr. Lyons, Mr. Scott, Mr. Edlow, you have used your power to perpetrate great evil. And it's about time you answer this committee for the lawlessness that you've empowered and defended in your testimony. Mr. Lyons, I want to start with you. And I want to talk about ICE. Because under your leadership, ICE has shot and killed Silverio Villegas Gonzalez and Renee Good, violated nearly 100 court orders in January alone. You've used banned chokeholds in more than 40 cases, engaged in warrantless arrests despite of a consent decree, and you used children as bait to put 3,800 children in detention. You created traps for people at immigration court who were following the law and doing it the legal way. And you broke the law by entering into people's homes without a judicial warrant in violation of the Fourth Amendment. Now, let's talk about you, Mr. Scott, and CBP next. Under your leadership, CBP has attempted to execute Marimar Martinez, shooting her 5 times and not releasing the footage that you should release so that we can see the evidence, murdered Alex Preddy, used chemical agents dozens of times in Chicago after a judge ordered you to stop, conducted warrantless surveillance and racial profiling, and acted with total disrespect and disregard for the law while engaging in roving patrols, plate switching, dangerous traffic maneuvers, and observer intimidation. Again, criminals act with that total disregard for the law, and we continue to see it. You would both have us talk about respect for your mission and your agents. But your agencies are unaccountable, paramilitary forces, and I have just as much respect for you as I do for the last white men who put on masks to terrorize communities of color. I have no respect for the inheritors of the Klanhood and the slave patrol. Those activities were immoral then and criminal, and so are yours.
Mr. Lyons, do you consider yourself a religious man?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, how do you think Judgment Day will work for you with so much blood on your hands?
I'm not going to entertain that question, ma'am.
Oh, okay, of course not. Do you think you're going to hell, Mr. Lyons?
I'm not going to entertain.
Of course not. How many government agencies, Mr. Lyons, are you aware of that routinely kill American citizens and you still get funding?
Ma'am, I'm not going to entertain that.
Of course you're not. Exactly.
Exactly.
Once again, questions that you cannot answer. And that is exactly why, Mr. Chairman, and to this committee, to my colleagues, and to my colleagues across the aisle, this is exactly why we should not be funding this agency. The people are watching you. They are watching you. And this is why we need to abolish ICE. With that, I yield back. Thank you kindly.
Okay, that's refreshing. But hey, back to Epstein, because next up, we've got Attorney General Pam Bondi in the House Judiciary Committee on Wednesday, and whoo boy, this is a very nasty woman. But first, a bit of background here. Earlier this week, members of Congress were granted access to more than 3 million unredacted Epstein files, and based on reactions from members of both parties, there's a lot of really troubling stuff in there that the public hasn't been allowed to see, and based on their reactions, probably for good reason. There's also a lot of names of potential co-conspirators who, for whatever reason, have not been prosecuted despite all of the evidence against them. Ro Khanna, one of the Democrats who's had a chance to pore over the files, decided he might as well go ahead and drop some names on the floor of Congress. Here's The Guardian.
Ro Khanna, the U.S. congressman, publicly revealed the names of 6 men whose identities were redacted from the Jeffrey Epstein files, including Leslie Wexner, a billionaire retail magnate, whom the FBI appeared to have labeled as a co-conspirator. The Democratic representative of California disclosed the names during a floor speech on Tuesday following a visit to the Department of Justice, where he and Thomas Massie, a Republican congressman from Kentucky, spent 2 hours reviewing unredacted documents. The 6 men named by Khanna are Wexner, the Victoria's Secret founder, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of DP World and an Emirati billionaire business person, and 4 others identified as Nicola Caputo, Salvatore Nuara, Zurab Mikaladze, and Leonik Leonev. Khanna did not provide evidence of wrongdoing against any of them, nor have they been charged with a crime in connection with Epstein. If we found 6 men that they were hiding in 2 hours, imagine how many men they were covering up for in those 3 million files, Khanna said during his floor speech. Khanna said that when he and Massie identified the redactions for Justice Department officials, they acknowledged their mistake and revealed the identities. He said that the majority of the files remain redacted.
Another person who has taken a gander at the unredacted files and shared some of what he found is Representative Jamie Raskin, who revealed that Trump's name was heavily redacted in the files released to the public. Here's Axios. Representative Jamie Raskin, a Democrat of Maryland, told Axios in an interview Tuesday that when he searched President Trump's name in the unredacted Epstein files the previous day, it came up, quote, more than 1 million times. Why it matters, at least one of the files Raskin found appears to contradict what Trump has publicly claimed about his association with Jeffrey Epstein, according to the House Judiciary Committee ranking member. That document is a 2009 email exchange between Epstein and his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, in which Epstein recounted his lawyer's account of a phone call with Trump, as Raskin previously told reporters. Trump is paraphrased and quoted as saying, "No, Jeffrey Epstein was not a member of Mar-a-Lago, but he was a guest at Mar-a-Lago, and no, we never asked him to leave," Raskin said in an interview at the Capitol.
That's weird, because I've heard at least 3 contradicting stories about how Trump told Jeffrey Epstein to leave Mar-a-Lago.
For, a few different reasons.
Many different reasons.
Some more incriminating than others, that he oddly said after he had already come up with an excuse.
Yeah, but now you're telling me he never kicked him out? That's strange.
Yeah. Well, why would he kick out his best customer?
So yeah, I mean, this kind of stuff being redacted is, of course, troubling. And it indicates that the release of these files has not been a good faith effort by Pam Bondi and her Department of Justice.
Remember when they said case closed last year?
Yeah, they gave some influencers some binders and said, we did it.
Yeah, then a couple months later, the heat was on and they were like, actually, there's nothing
Nothing else.
There's nothing to, they like literally were like, there's nothing to see here.
Yeah, throughout the entire process, they have obfuscated to a suspicious degree.
Yeah, some might say.
So yeah, I mean, it's a good thing that Congress had the opportunity to immediately ask her all about all of that. And if you're Pam Bondi, you want to use this opportunity to put everyone at ease and make it clear that this case is in very good hands.
Yeah.
Just kidding. It was a total fucking shit show.
Sure.
Here's Exhibit A. Representative Jerry Nadler asking her if the DOJ is investigating any Epstein co-conspirators, which is a great question, very relevant question, something most Americans would love to know the answer to.
Yeah, because they're presumably everyone involved in this is still fucking alive.
You're the one in charge of this shit.
Yeah.
If we're gonna ask anyone who's gonna know the answer, it would be you.
Even the as far back as you want to go legally on this is only like 25 years ago. So,
well, and the good thing is
Pam Bondi still alive.
Pam Bondi oversaw
that was
Epstein case back in Florida. So hey, it works out great. Yeah. Anyway, here's the clip.
How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer the
theatrics are
question the
ridiculous.
way I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people, but I'm going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Again, the time belongs to me.
Reclaiming my time.
The time belongs.
I think it's very interesting.
Reclaiming my time.
I think it's very interesting.
You can
when
reclaim
he
your
talks
time.
about they indicted, the president said they indicted him twice.
Mr. Chairman, please stop the clock and restore his time.
Okay, here we go with these
Committee will be in order.
theatrics.
The time belongs to the gentleman from New York. We will give you a few more seconds. We will do that. But when you ask a question, the witness gets to answer. You may not like the answer, but she gets to answer.
The question was, how many of Epstein's...
They don't like the answer, Chairman,
my time.
because it's honest. So he asked a 4-minute question.
Restore 45 seconds to Mr. Nadler, please, Mr. Chairman.
Answer.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
Time, and I should get back at least 45 seconds.
We will give you a few more seconds. I said that
Not a few more,
already.
45 seconds.
Okay, I'm timing right now, Mr. Nadler. Go
All right.
Reclaiming my time. The answer to my question, how many of Epstein's co-conspirators has she indicted, is 0.
Wow, what a normal answer to a normal question.
That's right. And it got more normal from there. It was literally hours of that kind of thing. Anytime a Democrat would ask a relevant and straightforward question about Epstein, she would constantly interrupt them mid-question and then complain that she was trying to answer the question when she absolutely was not, and was instead desperately trying to change the subject and veer off topic.
She had a binder of every single person on the committee, she had like a piece of paper with like immigrants committing crimes and be like, oh, why don't you want to talk about Epstein? Let's talk about this. And they're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Pam Bondi, don't you realize that like some crazy MAGA father killed his daughter in Texas very recently because she said that she didn't understand how her dad could act like that, and he fucking shot her and then claimed that it was an accident and has so far gotten away with it?
No, he's probably an immigrant. We just haven't figured out where.
Nope, big old white MAGA guy. That's right. Anyways, here's Pam Bondi having a full-on crash out and randomly changing the subject so she can read off some pre-written notes about how great the stock market's doing, because that has everything to do with child sex trafficking.
Guys, let's not waste time thinking about all this disgusting Jeffrey Epstein things when
the Dow Jones Industrial Average is doing numbers.
Our portfolios are going to the moon.
Yeah.
He is the most transparent president in the nation's history. And none of them asked Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan.
Committee will be in order.
Mr. Jordan, am I going to get an extra 45 seconds added to my time?
The committee will be in order. The time belongs to the gentleman from Texas. Ms. Bondi, the Attorney General can respond.
Thank you. The Dow has shattered 50,000 for the first time. This is crazy. They said it couldn't be done in 4 years, yet President Trump has done it in 1 year.
So yeah, I mean, this is bonkers. There's absolutely no reason for the Attorney General to be talking about how awesome the stock market is doing, especially in the context of being asked about how incompetent and or evil the DOJ has been about the release of these Epstein files. It doesn't even make sense as a way to distract and appease the general public, because the stock market being up doesn't change the fact that the economy for average Americans is still terrible right now. It's literally, stop asking us about the billionaires in the Epstein files, and instead, hey, maybe try being happy for all the billionaires whose portfolios are soaring right now. Have you thought about that?
Have you seen the marches that have been happening, the large marches all over America?
People love billionaires.
They love the billionaires.
And we shouldn't punish them for being pedophiles.
Yeah, they say...
We should be happy for them because their stonks are doing really good.
When the pie is bigger, your small slice gets a little bigger too. Right? That's how it works.
It trickles down.
That's right. We're still waiting on that trickle down. Anyways, it's also worth noting that a bunch of actual Epstein survivors were present at the hearing, and you would think that if Bondi and the DOJ were serious about investigating this case, they'd be overjoyed to meet with these victims. But during the hearing, Bondi never even turned around to look at them. She's supposed to be the one that is helping them and finding them some justice for this horrific thing that has happened to them. Here you go.
Now, in an interview last week...
How will you tell me that's intentional?
In an interview last week, Deputy Attorney General Todd Lyons...
You can't go off script.
...said that any victim that wants to speak with the department has done so, hopefully. Well, thanks to the incredibly brave people sitting here behind you, we can actually ask them if that's true. Now, would the survivors and victims who are here please stand up one more time? Just by show of hands, how many of you or your loved ones actually have met with the Department of Justice and provided testimony and evidence? None. And of those of you who have not met, which is everyone, how many of you have reached out either individually or through a lawyer or representative to offer to provide testimony and evidence? All of them. And of those all of you who have reached out, how many of you were denied or ignored by the Department of Justice? All of them. And despite the shameful and despicable efforts by Ms. Bondi and her department to intimidate you, how many of you are still willing to speak to the Department of Justice? All of them. Well, Ms. Bondi, it looks like you have some more witnesses to talk to.
Gentleman's time has expired.
And I yield back.
We will go to the good gentleman from North Carolina, Congressman Knott. Thank you.
May I have a moment, Congressman?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Here we go. Here's the photograph. This is why he wanted to repeat everything that had been said previously on Epstein. This is his state, New York. You probably don't even know who this is. Wahid Mohammed from Afghanistan.
Yes, because I'm no longer a prosecutor.
Convicted of assault. Wow, he represents New York. Wow, yet he doesn't care about the illegal aliens convicted of crimes.
At a certain point, I mean, Pam Bondi decided to just completely ignore all questions from Democrats. And the questions from Republicans were more like the questions fans ask at conventions about how she's able to do such a great job. Miss Bondi,
I have a question. How do you do it?
Yeah. And with such a beautiful smile on your face.
Are you tired of winning?
Except even from their POV, that's not even true. And here's a great example of how bad at her job this lady is, and an update to a story from a while back. You remember when a bunch of congressional Democrats who'd previously served in the military or intelligence made that video where they reminded U.S. troops that you did swear an oath to the Constitution that you should only obey legal orders and you shouldn't obey illegal orders, remember?
How dare they?
Pam Bondi, of course, immediately opened a formal DOJ investigation into the video to try and charge the people in the video with crimes. But hey, here's an update on how that went via NBC News.
None Of the D.C. grand jurors who heard the Trump administration's pitch on why they should indict Democratic lawmakers over a video urging members of the military and intelligence communities to uphold their oaths, believed the Justice Department had met the low threshold of probable cause. Two sources familiar with the matter told NBC News. It is exceedingly rare for a federal grand jury to reject prosecutors' attempts to secure an indictment, since the process is stacked in the government's favor. Federal grand juries need a minimum of 16 members to have a quorum, and they max out at 23 members. Just 12 grand jurors need to agree that the government had probable cause to indict, a threshold much lower than the unanimous beyond a reasonable doubt standard that a petite jury needs to convict. In 2016, the Justice Department investigated more than 151,000 suspects, but grand juries returned just 6 no bills, per DOJ statistics. The vast majority of assistant U.S. attorneys will go their entire careers without being rejected by a grand jury like this. As NBC News reported previously, the lawyers who attempted to bring the case are political appointees, not career prosecutors.
Oh, dang.
You get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich?
You can't.
Not so true anymore. Things are changing. First, we had the case where the guy literally threw a ham sandwich.
What about Mark Kelly? Is he still having his retirement pension garnished by Pete Hegseth?
That was, I don't know if that's been updated yet, but
you'd think with this ruling that would probably help his case.
But yeah, it's literally not a single person on the grand jury. Not even like one person. They're all just like, no, this is fucking stupid.
Everyone.
They recorded a video saying, don't break the law.
Yeah.
Like what? Come on, Pam.
But yeah, if you're feeling like you need a stiff drink after all that news, well, now's a great time to take a quick break and let you know that this episode is sponsored by ZBiotics. Some of us have sworn it off, and some of us might need it now more than ever. But if you're going to drink alcohol, your first drink of the night should be ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Engineered by a team of PhD microbiologists, it is a probiotic drink that breaks down the byproduct of alcohol that's responsible for rough days after drinking.
ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night.
And remember,
drink responsibly.
Always.
You do those two things, like I said.
Happy life.
You'll feel your best tomorrow, and that's all it takes. This comes in a cute little bottle. You'll look
like the substance.
You look like you're from the future, drinking your ZBiotics out of this little tiny bottle.
Real head turner.
I'm drinking in 2096 over here. So you ready to try it? Go to zbiotics.com/newsday now. You'll get 15% off your first order when you use Newsday at checkout. Plus, it's backed by a 100% money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Subscriptions are also available for maximum consistency.
All right, back to the news now. And while it's obviously very troubling that none of the people named in the Epstein files are facing any legal consequences whatsoever, there's thankfully still some social consequences, though not nearly enough. But we can at least rest assured that the paleontology convention, DinoCon, is very proactively ensuring that their dinosaur scientist event is Epstein-free moving forward.
Thank you, DinoCon.
It sounds ridiculous, but you got to remember, a whole lot of prominent people working in the sciences were buds with Epstein. According to these scientists, this was solely because Epstein provided a lot of funding to scientific research, but even if that's true, they should have known better than to pal around with a convicted pedophile. And that's DinoCon's official stance on the matter. Here's the Daily Beast.
The biggest convention on dinosaurs and prehistoric life in the UK has been turned upside down by the Epstein files. The fallout from the 3 million files released last month as part of the Epstein Transparency Act reached the strange new territory on Monday when DinoCon released a strongly worded statement on X. We at DinoCon take the safety of our attendees, speakers, and staff very seriously. As a result of the release of half of the Epstein files, it has come to light that a select number of scientists, authors, and researchers relevant to the field of paleontology allegedly engaged in correspondence with members of the Epstein organization after the conviction of Jeffrey Epstein, the statement began.
It added, we want to state that all respective individuals are banned from all of our events. It did not name the individuals apparently named in the latest tranche of documents related to the late sex offender who died in prison in 2019. DinoCon also used the statement to call out others in the field, saying organizations had so far failed to protect members. Additionally, we find it deplorable that some established paleontological organizations are not taking firm action to protect their members in light of these allegations, it said. As such, executive committee members from organizations that are not issuing public bans to these individuals are also banned from our events. You've been sacked. The people doing the sacking have been sacked.
Yeah, hell yeah.
We do not tolerate those who allow this behavior to go unchallenged within our community. And you gotta...
They should have put, like, at the end, let's make sex trafficking extinct.
Yeah. Let's hit it with a meteor.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's because the UK has been embroiled in at least half a dozen.
Yeah, one of these happens like every couple years.
Disgusting, like, child sex things. Like, maybe they're just used to it, but they're taking this a lot more seriously than anyone in the United States.
Well, it's because...
They've got, like, Keir Starmer's one of his ambassador to the US. There's a couple other, like, executives where people there aren't putting up with it. They're like, no, you get the fuck out.
Yeah, I mean, the difference is our president is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't know. They have a different system. I mean, they have
a different system. They really got that lost profits guy in prison.
I mean, they did, but
he honestly deserved it.
Yeah, but what was I going to say? Prince Andrew, or I guess just Andrew.
He's just Andy now.
Yeah, Andy. He's just an average Andy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they already knew he was a fucking shithead going back decades.
Yeah.
So, like, that was no shock. He has no actual power. Not if it was Charles, it might be different, but, like, even then, they're like, the royal stuff is so far kind of at the end of the line that, like, I feel like that might be the nudge to push people completely. Okay, let's just get rid of it. But, like, it's different when the fucking president of the United States, who controls the entire U.S. government,
is like the
an
most
Epstein
implicated.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
over a million times.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
I think even in, like, if we had a different Republican and Trump was, like, out of the picture, I feel like this would be going a lot differently too.
Yeah.
Because not like any of them are in the files. It's just fucking Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And he's making all these people into his stooges, basically.
The real only repercussion here in the United States are when people are shamed enough to either step back from their positions or they suffer actual consequences because Wasserman, for an example.
Yeah, the guy running the fucking LA Olympics
They
committee.
kept him on the Olympics, but, you know, to their credit, some of the biggest members of his talent agency are leaving. You got Chappell Roan, Orville Peck, there's a few others, but that is actually going to put real pressure on everything else.
Saw that. That was cool.
Yes.
A lot of big bands being like, listen, we love our agents, but they work for the guy in the Epstein files.
Yeah, a lot of the statements are just like, our day-to-day people are some of the nicest people I've ever worked with.
Sucks that we have to do this, but like, his name's on the building.
Yeah.
It's literally the Wasserman agency.
Yeah, and it's not as if his emails were ambiguous. It was, hey, Ghislaine, when can I get one of those cool massages everyone loves?
Yeah.
I want to book one right now. Like, there's no ambiguity to it. But yeah, no, they came out and they're like, yeah, he's still going to do the Olympics.
Just one more reason why this Olympics should never happen.
It's cursed.
Yeah. Anyway, finally today, we've got another update to a recent story, and it's a good update.
Yeah.
We're going to end today with some good news for you folks. So you remember when Trump was touring that Ford F-150 plant up in Michigan, and one of the assembly line workers called Trump a pedophile protector to his face, prompting Trump to respond with a fuck you and a little tiny middle finger. Remember that?
They said I couldn't bring it into Starbucks, but I did.
It was pretty cool. Well, if you were curious about just what being a member of a powerful labor union can provide for you and your family, look no further. Here's the hill. The Ford worker who heckled President Trump during his visit to a plant in Michigan last month has not been disciplined, according to his union, United Auto Workers, UAW. TJ Sabula reportedly called Trump a pedophile protector during the president's tour of Ford's River Rouge complex in Dearborn, a reference to the administration's handling of the Epstein files. Trump responded to the name-calling by flipping off the Ford worker and mouthing the words, "You're fired."
However, United Auto Workers Vice President Laura Dickerson said the employee has not been punished. This ain't The Apprentice, Dickerson said during remarks at a political conference in Washington, D.C., according to Reuters, referencing the Trump reality show where he would abruptly dismiss individuals deemed unfit for the competition. The UAW vice president reiterated the union's support for employees' free speech and said 40-year-old Sabula has no discipline on his record. The UAW will ensure that our member receives the full protection of all negotiated contract language safeguarding his job and his rights as a union member, Dickerson said in a statement last month. Workers should never be subjected to vulgar language or behavior by anyone, including the President of the United States, she added. Hell yeah.
God.
Yeah.
So yeah, not only did this guy get to heckle the President of the United States to his face, and not only did he get hundreds of thousands of dollars in GoFundMe donations from other people who wish they too could have gotten to yell at Donald Trump's face, he also faced zero disciplinary action at his job, and his union leadership publicly supported him.
Win-win. Everyone else should do this too.
This is what union membership can do for you. Join a union today. Unionize your workplace, folks.
A slight negative side of that, they're already like turning up the, in Minnesota, it was the Somalia fraud with child services.
Sure.
They're doing one for Dearborn now. They're doing, the immigrant population there is doing a big fraud. I think it's senior care or something this time around, but it's very like obvious that they're just targeting these kind of things.
Well, Dearborn specifically has a pretty big Arab population.
Yeah, so that's what it is.
That's why. That's why they're doing it.
Yeah.
And Rashida Tlaib is their representative.
There you go. So that's coming.
They're targeting.
That's bubbling up. So
anyways,
that's it for today's episode. We will, of course, be back with more. The news never ends. In the meantime, please give this video a like. Woo, please. We'd really appreciate it. Please. Then leave a comment, reply to a comment, put an emoji down there. I don't know what you guys do. Be sure to check out the videos that are popping up now. We have a whole rundown of all the Super Bowl stuff that you might have missed out on and an episode of Weird News. So check those out, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.